Hello, Joe here from GoSkate, and today with more helpful hinty tips for skating, we're going to be focusing on balance boards. In particular my Indo board, not a sponsor, but you can get many different types of balance boards. All they need is a roller and a piece of wood. You can even do this with a blank deck and any kind of roller, a filled bottle of water or some such, but I'm going to focus on this one. A balance board can be a great source of entertainment indoors with family, friends, etc. And it's, for our purposes as skaters, a great tool to get better. It creates a sense of where you have to focus on your body in a way that you don't normally focus on when you're on the board. It can strengthen muscles and just make it more comfortable on the board. So I'm going to start off from the beginning, how to start with support, then how to remove the support, and then I'm going to move on to intermediate and advanced things that you can do that are also good exercises, but generally it becomes kind of a sport unto its own. This will take some time, but it is quicker than skating. I find also if you're struggling as a base beginner to skate, then getting a balance board can actually make your first session a lot better. So if you're looking to start skating, getting a balance board is a really good thing. It will make your first times getting on the board a lot easier. So, balance board training, let's begin. So the first thing we're going to do is work out how to get on the thing. So we're going to start with the support, but I'm going to come to that shortly, because before we begin, just a couple things. Make sure you clear the space, obviously, first. Make sure you're not too close to a wall. Your limitation on movement is as far as the board will roll in either direction, right? It might shift a bit, but make sure there's a good foot or so between the edge of it and a wall or something fragile. Secondly, before we even get on the thing, we need to think of our body position, our composition, which is how we compose ourselves, our structure, balance, and posture. So firstly, we want to think of our upper part of our body like a filled pint glass. Shoulders at the top of the pint glass, and your hips at the bottom of the pint glass. And if you tip the pint glass, you will the pint glass will spill, meaning you're going to take a spill. Another analogy is the pea in the bowl. So whenever we're standing, the reason we have wide legs and bent knees, whenever we rise up on the board, my head and my body is the pea, right? Which means the outside of my bowl is not the outside of the board, it's the outside of my feet. If my pea, and this is just the same when you sit on the floor, by the way, but if my pea comes outside my bowl, then I'm going to fall off. I'm going to come off the board, right? So just keep in your mind's eye of your body, imagine the outsides of your shoes as the outside of your feet. So another thing is you want to stand like a hero. The tricky thing with standing like a hero on something like this is you don't want to look at your feet. If I stand sideways and if I look at my feet, you can see how it makes my spine bend down and everything loads up on the front. So we want to stand like a hero, have your chest out, back in, head looking out. We can begin by looking at the feet, but then we don't really need to look at them, okay? So chin up, where you going? Okay, and that actually is the foundation and beginning part of this, is separating the weight of your upper body and controlling that with your abdominal muscles and your core muscles, and understanding the shifting of the weight with your legs as well. Some of my other videos have spoken about this, the loading board episode, but this is one of the reasons why a balance board is such a good training tool, because it can isolate those muscle groups, isolate those exercises, while we're indoors and in an isolated situation. Cool. So, phase one, focus on your body being stacked upon itself. This also includes twisting your shoulders against your hips. You want everything to be stacked up against itself. That way we're only balancing on one plane, like we're balancing this way. If I twist my shoulders, I need to balance this way as well. So make sure everything's in line. Now, moving on. When you are looking for a support, you can use a wall. It's quite advisable, but as I say, there's a higher chance of you hitting the wall or something fragile. So But you need to bear in mind that it is going to take, potentially, especially at the beginning, it's going to take all of your weight. So I recommend against a radiator or any wall fitting because it may not be load bearing and you don't want to tear anything down or break anything because of this. So also, if you're going to pick a chair, say, bear in mind that it's got to be quite close because if you lean too far down, it can rock into you, right? So I have a funky red chair here. Now you want your feet firstly on the way on the outside, like where the stoppers are, and you want to shuffle until the roller is in the middle, until you can push your weight over the roller and it will lift up. Now I'm going to demonstrate this in backwards in a minute, but the first thing that's going to be jolting is the second you get up, it's going to rise on the other side. So bring it to the middle, and all I'm going to ask you to do to begin with, whilst your weight is on the support, as in your chest is over the support, you're going to just move your head and body, the pint glass, over the roller, and then all you're going to do is lift this leg here. Don't lift it all the way, because this is the leg that's going to stop it from going too far. So you just head over the roller, lift. And you want to start just that exercise from both sides. Head over the roller, lift the back foot, and stop it from going too far. Head over the roller, lift, and down. Head over the roller, lift. Okay, so to get a reverse shot of that, so from the rear shot, you're going to start, you've got a low side and a high side. Whenever you're getting on or off the thing, make sure you start on the bottom and work to the top. When you're getting on, then when you're getting off, you must make sure that one side is touched the floor and you can take off your top foot and come off the bottom. So getting on, you go bottom to top. Getting off, always make sure one side is touching down and you go top to bottom. Otherwise, if you're standing and you take a foot off, well, obviously you're going to go flying. So, to start, you want to get your weight up, stacked and upright. Look ahead, check your feet nice and wide, parallel. And you want to get your hips, but your hips you're going to get over the roller, okay? And instead of pushing down on this side, what you're going to want to do is just lift this leg until it's flat, knowing that it's going to keep coming up. Okay, and just practice that. To start, you want to lift, roll to the other side, drop down. Lift, roll, drop. Whilst holding onto the support. Lift, roll, drop. Keeping your hips over the roller, drop. All my weight's on this leg, everything's down this way. Touch that side as wide as you can, and then you bring your weight over, knees wide, and you lift this leg. Now, the misconception here is to stand on this leg. But if you do that, then often you forget it's going to pop up on the other side. So as I say, weight over the roller, and then the board should just lift up. Okay? Now, you want to keep doing that until you can do it with one hand, then 3 fingers, 1 finger, and you're on your own. Okay. Now, once you've got kind of comfortable with that, you still might want the support there because you might want to grab yourself. But as you can see, still the same things apply. My shoulders are in line, my hips are in line, my head is up and raised, and my knees are nice and bent. My feet are nice and wide and parallel, and you should feel your abdominal muscles crunching here to keep this balance, this hip action in balance. That's what we're trying to do. So once you're up comfortably, the next thing to do is work out how to load the board, in that you want to be able to load all your weight at one side to make this foot loose and free and weightless. And then you want to be able to transition and roll to the other side, keeping everything upright, straight, without leaning or tipping. Okay, and then you want to make that transition smooth and under your control. So to start with, the board will kind of control you. But as your muscles grow and as your attention grows, your body and the board, you'll be able to control it more accurately. So that should keep you going for a while, okay? That's just like a good couple days, probably a total of like, depending on yourself, but probably an hour or so of that, and you should be able to get off of the support. Now, if you can't after that amount of time, you might want to return to the attention of your body. Can you feel that your body is in line? Is your butt sticking out? You know, can you feel your stomach muscles gripping? Are your knees bent? Are your legs bent? Are your feet all squiffy? Right? If you're struggling longer, just take it back to the beginning, use the support again, and make sure everything is in line and stacked properly. Cool. So that's kind of the first phase, the foundational elements. And we're going to talk about how to do twisting and some different exercises that you can do, and then some advanced things. All right, so moving on from the basic, just comfortably being able to rise up, stand on the board, move it left and right. Now we're going to want to start to play with some other features, some other dimensions. And this is really going to be like a sapling or a tree, because you'll start off with one direction, one plane, just this way and that way. Okay, and you're stuck at this height because your knees need to be bent. But the first thing we're going to do is play with height so that we can grow the thing higher, right? And in order to do that, everything needs to be in line both ways. And you need to keep your chest out, chin up, and you're going to bend down using your legs, sat like the pint glass on top of your hips. You do not want to bend your hips, you do not want to bend your back down and go down like this. Okay, that's a lot harder, and it's not the right practice. It's not what we're trying to achieve. So what you want to do is sit with your hips in the middle of your toes and heels. Use your knees to bend down, and you're going to feel it in the thighs. Ooh boy, if you're not used to this, you'll feel it in the thighs. And you might just want to start with squats, just to bring it down and to strengthen those muscles and your calf muscles and stuff. Build that up, right? Every day. It's highly advised at this stage actually to just watch TV, listen to music, do something like that while you're doing this. It'll really boost those muscles and that balance. So yeah, as you're coming down, right, the eventual thing here is you want to be able to reach for the weightless end and the weighted end, the front and the back. Okay, play with height. See what it's like when you lock your legs. See if you can stay up with that once you're comfortable. But all of this is keeping within the guise of control. What's comfortable for you, pushing the boat out a little bit, but keeping it nice and stable. So play with that height there. So the next dimension is we're going to play along with the length of the board. Okay, so we started with our feet way wide. Make sure everything's in line. And you're just going to start, make one end weightless. So load one side, and then you're just going to shuffle a foot in so that the board gets smaller and smaller. Always remember, pee in the bowl is another analogy that's really useful. Okay, so my head is the pea, the outsides of my feet are the bowl. My pea can only stay in the bowl. If it falls out, then I fall out. Okay, so you see I can take my pea right to the edge of that bowl. Then you can bring it in even further. And then try and merge the two things. So we started with the one plane, and then we played with then we played with height, and now we're playing with the length of the board. So now try bending down with straight knees whilst you're on a short board, like whilst you've made the board very short. And then go back and try it real long. Feel the difference. Feel the difference, because all the things we learn here will probably be applicable to on a skateboard, if that's what you're here for. But yeah. Okay, so there's three dimensions there that you can play with. There's this plane here, right? There's the height of the board, right? And just playing around with that is enough. And the length of the board. Now to keep this fun, because it's going to make you sweat. I'm dripping now. It's going to make you sweat. But to keep it fun, as I say earlier, it's encouraged to watch stuff or do stuff while you're on the Uno board. But when I was learning, what I imagined was while music was playing, that I was on like a hoverboard or something. So whether you imagine you're on a skateboard or on a surfboard, I was like full-blown, futuristic, you know, in the future. And that kept me on for hours, right? Like, I was just like a little kid. I wasn't a little kid. I was in my early 20s. But it kept me on the board, right? And that's the thing. We want to keep on. You want to keep on. Make these things fun for yourself. Whatever you have to do, make it fun. So if you're on a surfboard, surfing in Maui, with loads of cool dudes on the beach, whatever works for you, right? You don't have to tell anyone about it either. I'm choosing to tell you guys. So that's a good foundation set. You should be able to play around with those before we start to talk about changing this plane and then being able to move the ball forwards and backwards whilst under control. These are the next things we're going to do. We're going to come to this next. Now, there is one absolute no-no when it comes to balance boarding, okay? The weight of this thing is dependent on the weight of yourself. So the one thing that I've seen people do before, never, ever, ever, I mean never, let your fingers in this area here slip underneath the board in any way, because once you've gripped on there, if you're not used to it, your hand will stay gripped, and if you come down on that end, that's all your body mass, all your body weight and the weight of the board down on your fingers. And because you fell down on that, your weight is probably loading on it, so you won't be able to pull your hand out. It's a whole cycle of mess, okay? So if you're going to put your hand on, just make sure not to wrap your fingers underneath the board, or tap the end, tap the top. The sides also have the same problem because the roller is there. So you definitely don't want to put your fingers anywhere underneath this bottom line. Definitely do not do that. Now, here's another interesting thing. While you're practicing, while you're getting better, for beginners, I would recommend starting with your shoes on. It means that your feet have something to grip onto, and your feet in the shoe has a flat plane to meet the flat plane of the board. If you're in socks, I mean, try it out, you know, but I personally find it's a harder way of doing things because your feet can roll around a lot more, and your points of balance on the floor, or your points of contact with the board, which is very important, can change far more drastically than if your feet are in shoes. Ooh. Alright. So next we want to learn how to ride sideways, as it were, or in hang 10. It is what technically it is called. Now this is actually really helpful for any dancers, any fresh longboard dancers out there, because this is one of the first exercises I'm going to instruct you to do in my dance tutorial for beginners. But yeah, you want to go in hang 10, which is where your body is facing the same way as the board. Now you don't have to start on the board like this, right? In fact, what I recommend for this one, take the board, just get rid of it. No, I'm joking. Just get rid of it in the sense of just put it on the wall for a bit. And now this one, all we're going to do is learn to stand on the roller. Okay? Now it can just start like that, just a step. Okay? Just a step. Make sure that you don't let your foot roll over the top, right? This top 0 degree point here, that's your balance point when you're starting. Just push against it like a curb. But you can, on this one, you can use a wall, just a one-hand wall, and I'd recommend starting on 1 foot also. I don't need a wall, but you can use a wall like this because there's no downward loading pressure really. By the point you're getting to this, you should also be comfortable in stacking your body this way, like a pint glass, right? That should be established by now, so that's why we don't need a support so much. But yeah, so start off like this, and you're going to start on 1 foot. So you're going to stand up, and just hover there for a minute. And you're just feeling this rolling action. And if you keep your body stacked, then your feet, right, is what will make the pea in the bowl situation. So it's the front of your furthest foot forward to the back of your furthest foot back. So you can actually make this a lot longer by spreading your feet out like this. See how I have a lot more to balance on? Because this is stacked, so I can, this is all stacked, so I can put it all the way back to this foot, the front of this foot, all the way back to the back of this foot. Okay? But eventually, this is what you want to get to be able to just roll it back and forth a little bit underneath you, keeping everything loose, comfortable. You don't want to tense up, okay? Casual. Casual. Alright? Until the point where you can just stand on the thing, okay? Because essentially, when we stand like this on the roller, when we stand like this on the roller, this is just like it is, just without the board in between. Right. So once you're comfortable with that, and you can kind of walk it forwards a bit, and you can walk it back a bit by transitioning from left to right foot while staying stacked, then you can get the board. And again, just start very calmly against the wall. Put it in the middle this time, and we're going to do exactly the same as that time round. Okay, so get it level with your foot, and you should be able to feel how it tips underneath your foot like this. Okay, and then all you do is just up, down. Just like that, up, down. Make sure everything is stacked on top of itself. If I lean back, you know what's going to happen. Okay, if you stick your butt out, alright, so everything's got to be nice and stacked. This is why it's 1 foot and just off the board, because if you're not balanced, it'll tell you immediately. Okay, so just make it nice and casual until the point where you can put your foot on. Okay, you can start by kicking the roller actually, that's not bad. Wait, but what we're trying to do is take our body, take the pint glass in the hero position from the floor up onto the board. So the first thing to move, if I show you at this angle, the first thing you're going to do is, with or without the board, is put your body on, load the board, then lift your foot. Okay, then same thing applies. Start just comfortably. And at this time, right, you can always step off sideways. Always you can step off sideways if you're learning this way. Okay? And then, yeah, you want to be able to get on from both sides. And again, this is a very good exercise. Kind of a stepometer, right? Okay, and then when you're ready, you get up. And very carefully and slowly, you want to be able to move the board forwards and do the same exercises in this direction as we did in the other direction. So you start with wide feet, walking forwards and backwards. And you want to play with height, making sure to keep your chest out, chin up, and back in. All right, until you can touch the board. Any which way. Okay. And I think that's a good place to stop there for a while. I will come back with more videos on this, but that should keep things fun, keep you exercised if it's raining, keep cool things to show your friends, you know what I'm saying, and yeah, keep you sweating and keep you skating. So that's the balance board. You got the beginning exercises with the support, then removing the support, playing with the plane that you're on, the height, and the length and width of the board, and your foot positioning. So yeah, it should help with your body awareness, with the awareness of the board, with the awareness of your weight, and strengthen key muscle groups like these lower leg muscles and thighs and calves, and your core muscles also, which all are praise be to skating, really, essentially. So yeah, I hope that has been useful. If there is any more, please leave a comment. My name is Joe from Go Skate. That was Balance Board for beginners. And stick around, check out the website, Facebook, Insta. Cheers, guys.